Hi, welcome to Construction Update. These are the 10 hottest stories in the construction industry this week. I'm Larry Stewart with ForConstructionPros.com.
My name is Jessica Lombardo. I'm editor of Asphalt Contractor Magazine, and I'm going to start us off today with the top 10 story, and that skid steer prices are up 30% according to Ritchie Brothers. So their August market trends report, it continues to show growing prices across all equipment indexes with significant gains in the skid steer and compact track loader areas. And according to the report, retail market for used compact sized earth moving equipment, including skid steer loaders, has shown impressive strength this year, leading all other categories in price achievement.
Yeah, and everything's up, especially with the supply of new machines restricted. And we'll talk a little more about that. Next on the list, number 9, studies continue to demonstrate benefits of using concrete grinding residue. So the slurry of water and concrete that results from diamond grinding has been regulated because of environmental concerns. But 3 studies at Iowa State University's Institute for Transportation find that CGR, they call it, as a soil amendment poses no significant environmental drawbacks. And it could be a benefit as a stabilizer in certain circumstances. And that Iowa findings kind of early, but it lays a foundation for further study on in other states with a greater range of climate and soil and plant types.
Yeah, absolutely. So the number 8 story this week is 4 causes of construction project delay and how to solve them. So obviously we know that project delays on construction sites are very costly. They can be detrimental to your profit margins. So you want to find ways to overcome that, but many construction business owners, they don't even know what's available to help them deal with these type of cost overruns. So this article kind of talks about the 4 main reasons that projects run over in terms of cost, and there's some software solutions that can kind of help you overcome those challenges.
Yeah, huge problem. And obviously no single story is going to serve up all the solutions, but a good place to start in thinking about solutions. Number 7 this week, 3 issues that infrastructure funding will address. Underfunding road maintenance for decades has built a $786 billion backlog of road and bridge needs in the U.S., with more than half of that need in repairing existing roads. And the 3 big wins in this current infrastructure bill, passed by the Senate and now on the House's docket, are improving safety, reducing congestion, and extending connectivity. Jess, you've been keeping an eye on this and doing a great job of it for us. What do you think are the most significant things in this infrastructure bill that they would expect to fund?
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head with the maintenance backlog. Roads alone have a $420 billion backlog of maintenance needs. And this bill does not have a fix it first provision, which we'll talk about a little later. So states can do whatever they want with this funding, and some are going to build new roads and some are going to address that maintenance backlog that you're talking about. But what this bill does right is it gives $40 billion just to bridge repair, rehabilitation, and maintenance. And in fact, that's the single largest investment in our bridges since the interstate highway system was constructed. So that represents the only funding that's dedicated just to maintenance in the whole infrastructure package. So that's something where I see big impact coming down the road. We're going to see a lot of bridges being repaired, rehabilitated, and that's going to be great for our infrastructure. Yeah, so I'm going to move on to the number 6 story now, and that's the acquisition of Doosan Infracore by Hyundai Heavy Industries is now complete. So there are a lot of moving and shaking going around in the industry over the last week in terms of equipment sales. But with this sale being final, Doosan Infracore now becomes a subsidiary of newly created Hyundai Genuine Group, and that's alongside the Hyundai Construction Equipment Group. These 2 independent construction equipment companies will be under the Hyundai Heavy Industry Holdings Company, and the plan with the acquisition is to manage overlapping investments and invest heavily in areas like the future technologies and innovation on these equipment.
Yeah, and they become a pretty significant global player. Hyundai was already there and Doosan with strength, but now you put them together and they're up in the top 5, I think. And speaking of number 5 on the list this week is get ready for that work truck shortage to linger due to the tight microchip supply. Decide what you need for 2022 and act now, because truck makers' most profitable models will be first to get scarce components as supply challenges continue and restricting truck availability. Demand for trucks continues to rise and inventories are near all-time lows. The supply of semiconductors that make up microchips that control all these sophisticated vehicle systems has been choked by the pandemic and a fire at one of the world's largest semiconductor factories. Work trucks of all sizes are even harder to find as manufacturers funnel available resources to higher profit vehicles. The value of the average used Class 8 truck was 68% higher in June of 2020. Three-year-old trucks with 300 to 400,000 miles on them were breaking into six figures. They started the year at about 70,000. So supply of new trucks is about 25% behind current market demand. And there's no quick fix for this semiconductor supply problem. Find out how long into 2022 these high truck prices and low availability will persist.
What crazy times we are living in. My goodness. So above, we talked about the three main areas where infrastructure funding is going to come through for our industry. But the number 4 story talks about the 3 areas that the construction infrastructure plan kind of missed out on. So yes, the 1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure plan is going to spend a little money in a lot of places, but it really missed some key opportunities to make transformative change. So for example, there's no fix it first provision like we talked about earlier, but perhaps the biggest miss of this plan is around workforce development. So Biden, he's been quoted as saying that the bill is going to create millions of good paying jobs across all segments of our country and industries, and that 90% of these jobs are not going to require a college degree. But the problem is there's no one to do the work. 88% of contractors are reporting that they're having difficulty right now finding skilled labor, and 35% of those contractors actually had to turn down work because of the skilled labor shortage. So the bill really missed a chance to fund priorities like expanding registered apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeship programs to help ensure that we actually have the people to do this influx of work that we're expecting to see. There's a couple other things that we think that the bill had some opportunities to help with as well. So go ahead and check those out.
All right, number 3 on the list this week. Here's an excavator powered by a motorcycle battery and why that's such a big deal. So Komatsu is readying the launch of its very first battery-powered excavator. And the real kicker here is that they partnered with Honda to make it happen with a battery technology that's swappable. So this is the world's smallest hydraulic excavator that you can actually ride on. Based on the PC-01 sold in Asia and Oceania, in its gas-powered form, it's a 3.5 horsepower machine that has digging depth of about 3.5 feet, and it weighs about 660 pounds. The important part of this is that this swappable battery technology gives the machines hypothetically an infinite runtime. You can have a set charging while you're operating. That's the real important part of this thing. As they get that technology out in the field and get it operating and reliable, they can scale that up into bigger machines.
Yeah, you have to watch the video. That machine is so small that they're riding it. It's crazy. So the number 2 story is that a rebar tying robot cuts labor hours and work duration on a Pennsylvania bridge replacement. So the Koppel Bridge replacement, it was a massive undertaking, which called for 12-foot travel lanes and 8-foot shoulders. The Bremen Construction Corporation is known for adopting technology early. So they took a unique approach to tying rebar on this bridge, and they deployed use of the TieBot, which is an autonomous rebar tying robot that can tie up to 1,000 intersections an hour by autonomously navigating its working area. So on this project, it saved 34% in both personnel hours and duration of work. So go ahead and check out that video as well. You can see it working. It's pretty neat to watch.
Yeah, really interesting to see autonomous technologies going to work on construction projects these days and showing real savings. First on the list this week, the big news is Deere and Hitachi dissolving their 30-year excavator joint venture. After more than 30 years building excavators together, Hitachi and John Deere are parting ways, and the two companies plan to continue to work through licensing and supply agreements. And Deere will continue to manufacture excavators in the same facilities it does today. Hitachi Construction Machinery Loaders America will become the regional headquarters for the Americas for all Hitachi construction machinery products and services, as the company plans to expand its offering and dealer network with specific focus on the mining market. With Deere and Hitachi splitting up and Doosan and Hyundai getting together, there's going to be some names changing, some dealers changing, a lot of interesting movement in the equipment supply business in North America. And that's our list for this week. Thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you, Larry. Have a great week.
You too. And thank you all for tuning in. We'll have a list for you next week. And in the meantime, stay safe.